Hi, this is Political News in 5, and today is August 28th, 2022. I'm Aisha Osori. Now, today's episode is going to be a little longer than usual because it's the last one for the month, and that will be the format going forward. Now, I'm starting with the NBA outing in Lagos last week. Now, the Nigerian Bar Association invited some of the 15 presidential candidates. It's not clear how they decided who would come to their 62nd annual general conference. So Peter Obi was there, Atiku Abubakar was there, Dumebi Kachiku of the African Democratic Congress was there, and so was Adewale Adebayo of the Social Democratic Party, SDP. Apparently Kwankwaso was also invited but did not show up. Now, this was an opportunity for these presidential candidates to share their thoughts on the theme Bold Transitions for Nigeria and the 21st Century, and to share their thoughts with 13,000 plus lawyers. Well, the main news of that event turned out to be who didn't come, and that was Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the APC presidential candidate, who instead sent his running mate Kashim Shettima, the former governor of Borno. Now, why didn't Tinubu turn up? There are a couple of reasons. Some say it's because he had more important things to do, sort of implying that engaging with voters is not important and talking is not how elections are won. Some say it's because he knew that the NBA is hostile territory for himself and now pro-OB, and so he decided to avoid it. Then one would question why he sent his running mate. And for the third reason, some people just believe that Tinubu is avoiding public events because of his ill health, and there's some videos that show that when he's in the middle of his speech, he sort of stops, sort of trying to regain his train of thought. Sometimes he sounds incoherent, so it's probably to avoid that exposure. Now, whatever the case, it's not a good look for the APC presidential candidate to miss an opportunity to engage with voters. There are three main reasons. The first is that the general perception in Nigeria is that the next presidential elections are going to be close because they will not be business as usual for APC and PDP. We'll have NMPP, Kwankwaso's party, and Labour Obi's party eating into their typical votes. That's one. The second, so every vote should count. The second is that Tinubu has a perception of being an election rigger. That's what people believe about him. A lot of people believe that. So he should be trying to do everything possible to dispel that perception by making sure he's engaging and acting like every vote really counts. The third is that we've had 7.5 years of a taciturn, aloof president, that's Buhari, who takes every opportunity not to speak with us, and when he does, it's from a script and it's usually recorded. Now, we do not want another president in 2023 who will be inaccessible either by design or due to ill health. We want somebody who will connect with us and who we can speak to and hear from directly. Now, one of the reasons why Peter Obi appeals to many Nigerians is exactly because of that. He's accessible. He travels with us. He's not in private jets in first class. He's on the radio, he's on TV, he's on the streets talking to people, meeting with people. No other candidate is doing that. I think this is a cue for all the other presidential candidates. 96 million strong registered voters in Nigeria for the 2023 elections. One of our demands before the presidential elections in February should be that all presidential candidates, no excuses, all must show up for a live debate where they stand, engage on their plans for Nigeria, and Nigerians have a chance to question them and get answers from them directly. No proxies. Second thing I'd like to talk about is Lord John Wike, the Wicks of Rivers State, who has been trending for over a week now. Start with his attack on his own party members in Rivers State, where he's been sealing businesses, hotels, fuel, petrol stations, and things like that. Why? Their sin is fraternizing in Abuja with Atiku, who is the PDP presidential candidate, who rightly they should be able to engage with. But Wike obviously sees this as a betrayal. There's a video of him saying that he's going to finish everybody and saying that, they cannot take contracts from him and the state and then go to Abuja and plot against him. Wike obviously conflates, just like Louis XIV of France, the state with him. He thinks he is the state and the state is him. Well, let's see. Now, what makes Wike so powerful right now, or seemingly powerful, is because he has this group of governors who either buy into his ideology or are in his pocket, something that really needs to be investigated. What is this connection between these governors of Oyo State, Benue State, Abia, Adamawa, and Enugu? Adamawa seems to be playing a double game. They're always with him, and there's a sense that they're going to vote as a bloc. Now, in addition to that, Wike is rumored to have hold over the structures in non-PDP controlled states like Kano, at least one faction, Ondo, Cross River, and Kogi State. This is what makes him powerful. So APC wants those votes, PDP wants those votes, Labour wants those votes. Last week we heard that Wike was meeting with Tinubu in France, in the UK. It's not clear where, and it's not even clear whether that meeting actually happened. But of course, there's been a running conversation about Wike probably working for Tinubu in 2023 just to punish Atiku and the PDP. Then there were pictures of Wike meeting with his fellow governors, with the Labour presidential candidate Peter Obi and former President Olusegun Obasanjo. The implication being that OBJ was trying to broker some sort of agreement where Wike and his group would support Obi's ambition. And then finally, that same day, we saw pictures of Atiku meeting with Wike and this same group of people in London, and even having dinner. Now, there's no clear sense of what transpired and what promises have been made. I'll be following up on that. But it's very clear, we'll get a good indication that Atiku and Wike have made up when Iyorchia Ayu, the national chairman of PDP, resigns his position, because that's one of Wike's key demands before they even begin to negotiate for what he wants out of giving his support to Atiku. Now, what is Wike pained about? He's pained about the fact that he hasn't been a party hopper. He's sort of kept the party in shape all these years, despite the fact that NPDP factionalized the party in 2014 and made it easy for APC to win the presidency in 2015. He's also upset that the party did not insist on the zoning formula that would make an easier path for him to win the presidential ticket during the primaries. He's unhappy that Atiku won. He's also unhappy that Atiku didn't pick him as a vice president. Now, unfortunately for him, the way he's carrying on like a spoiled child, throwing his toys out of his pram, locking up, for example, Farah Dagogo for over 60 days because he wanted to contest the primaries to be governor of his state, as is his right. All those things show him as overbearing, as someone who abuses power, and someone who is reckless. So he's actually given more ammunition for those within the party who are wary of giving him any more power within that party or even within the country. Now, we should be asking ourselves, what is in it for us if Wike succeeds in making any sort of arrangements? He obviously is fighting for his political relevance. Once he stops being governor of Rivers State in May 2023, he's not going to the Senate. He won't have any position. So he's also in dire need of making sure he keeps some sort of immunity from EFCC, who will be sure to want to look into the state of his affairs and the source of his fantastic wealth, which he's so generous with. So we should be asking ourselves, who makes a deal with Wike, and what is that deal about, and how is it going to help us in the long run? Finally, I'd like to speak to recent alarm that civil society have made in a press statement about the 19 residential electoral commissioners that have been appointed by President Buhari just in time for the elections in 6 months. Now, they say that some of these appointees do not meet the constitutional requirements of being non-partisan and of being people of integrity. They had actually listed 4 people who they say, for various reasons, one of them is a sister to the APC deputy national chairman from the Southeast. She's supposed to be the nominee for Enugu State. There's another man, Mohammed Bashir from Sokoto, who was the APC gubernatorial candidate in 2015, so obviously partisan. There's another woman who used to be the head of INEC's ICT department in Imo State. She's apparently has a reputation for being corrupt and conniving with politicians to undermine elections, and on and on. Now, for me, that's a clear sign that we should put a lot of pressure on President Buhari and the Senate to decline the appointments of these people. That's one. 2, civil society should go a step further and provide options and alternatives and say, for Imo State, here are 3 decent people who can do this role. Same for Enugu, and so on and so forth. And finally, for us, our role as the electorate is to make demands, make it clear to INEC and other stakeholders that we expect our elections to be free and fair, to be an improvement on the 2019 elections. And we should keep that fever up until the day of election. That's it for me this week. Just one last bonus news is that I mentioned last week that Shekarau is going to be moving from NMPP to PDP. And when he does that, probably later this afternoon, he will be leaving behind his ticket to the Senate, meaning that he will obviously be demanding ways in which he will remain in government in one way or the other in 2023. For him to be moving to PDP, it gives a sign that he believes that that's where his future lies. Let's see. I'll keep you posted next week. That's it again. Thank you for joining me, and see you again next week. Bye.